we call something a bit different this Friday. We haven't got MRC X for you, but instead we've got a lot of people desperate to have some Friday night funkin' on the 5th of May, and the circuit's been a secret for a little while now, but it looks like we're finally going to go racing around China. Circuit that's not on our calendar, and we haven't raced it for a little while, so it will provide quite a big challenge to some of the racers, some of whom I know won't have raced this in a couple of years, and there might be one or two who have raced it this week. But as that countdown timer starts, let's get you set up for our race in China. I will just post the YouTube link as well once we go live. Excellent. And here we are in a cloudy looking China. A little bit of a reminder to everyone that do give yourselves a minute and everybody else a minute to pick setups, because this is a complete surprise. You will all want to make sure that everybody gets a fair chance at racing as quick as possible, because we want that here. Let's just plot this in the race coverage, and we'll see how we go. We are, of course, having a slightly different setup tonight. It's one-stop qualifying, so let's get our very own Hodgie on the screen to see how he does as we're firing into that first corner. Such a tricky first corner, loads of apexes you've got to hit, and it's all just a balancing act of where you're going to put it on the throttle and when you're going to accelerate. But once you're out into that left-hander, you'll go down. You're looking, I think it's about the 100-metre board, you're looking for to brake hard just as that you've got that area on the left with the curbing. Then it's into this section. This is going to be probably flat out in quali. You might want to lift slightly in the race because you do struggle for traction through here. And then it's right, another late apex that just the corner that keeps on going in, and this left-hander's really interesting. You've got to fire it in, you want to carry as much speed as you can through there. Any down, right. Now we're into a very technical section, sort of break in between the 100 and the 50, left around this big red sort of spectator area, but I've never seen any spectators there. It's always just a bit of advertising. And here we are, we're on to the longest straight on the F1 calendar, pedal to the metal. Look at just that DRS flat opens wide, and you hair down to a very hard braking point. This hairpin here, you're looking just for the barrier. That 100-metre board again, hook it in. He's done a very good job of hitting the apex there. And now you're into this final left-hander. This is so tricky, so easy to invalidate your lap if you're not careful. He's taken it very carefully through there, but he's managed to keep his time, and let's see where it's across the line for Mark. Well, that's a very impressive lap. Petty Craig in first, Mark there on board with second place with a 1:34, and it looks like we've got a good mix of drivers around there. So, one-stop quali is over. Let's just take you briefly through the grid in the time that we've got left, and then we'll set up for the first sprint race, our first one of two races that we're going to have tonight. So, it's Confetti Craig in the Haas in first, Mark in the Aston Martin in second, Womax in Mercedes in third, G-Star in the McLaren fourth, Bailey in the Williams in fifth, Lorpy in the Haas in sixth, Maudster in the Ferrari seventh, Pitt in eighth, Donny in ninth, Eddie in 10th, Scottish Ninja in 11th, alongside his Scottish compatriot there with Biff in the Alpine. Then you've got Kaiser Soze 13th, Single Track 14th, Simba 15th, Night Shadow 16th, and 17th you've got LRL. Three drivers who unfortunately did not set a lap. We've got RFC Danny, Ant, and Kid Dynamite. So, fascinating race ahead of us. And with all that out of the way, I'd like to introduce my driver comms co-com for the night. He's in the Ferrari. He had quite a good qualifying session, it looked like there, with a 7th place. It's Andrew, or as some of you might know him, Maudster. How did you get on with that qualifying today?
Not as quick as some people, but the car feels planted with this one. There's a lot of corners here that are quite a pain, but you just got to keep it on track, hopefully, and just get the good positions, just get ready for the main feature race. Yeah,
you said that you raced this earlier this week. Did you have a setup already? Do you think that's going to benefit you during the longer runs and in the sprint race?
I did have a setup ready for it, yes, thanks to another driver in the league who I tweaked it a little bit just to give myself a little bit more on the front wing, a little more turning, but it felt pretty decent, actually.
Excellent. Well, let's have a look. This is, of course, the sprint race, first of all, so we are expecting most drivers to not have to do that pit stop. No mandatory pit stop in this first race. Let's just have a look and see what detail I can get up to. Let's look at the tyres. Everybody's starting on the mediums, apart from single track, all on his lonesome with a pair of hards. I don't know if he wants to use that hard and make sure that he doesn't use it during our feature race, or maybe he thinks that that medium's going to go off a little bit too much towards the end of the 10th lap. But that's very interesting.
I would have kept that for the main race.
Yeah? What's your usual strategy for the main race? Is it just medium hard around here?
Yeah, the sots will go off after about 5 laps.
Yeah.
This place eats tyres alive.
I seem to remember that this is not a track that I don't, like I say, it's not a track that I've driven in ages, and it's definitely not amongst my favourites. I know that there's different drivers, suits different styles, and it's quite a complex setup, I think, because of that long straight. You can lose so much time if you've got a lot of downforce on your car, but you kind of need it for the more twisty technical sections, don't you?
It's a definite double-edged sword.
Yeah, so really interesting to see who's going to come out on top tonight. Of course, the sprint will help set our qualifying grid for the main feature race, so drivers like RFC Danny and Kid Dynamite all know that they're very fast, particularly those last two. They'll want to make as many places up as possible on this sprint, and of course the other thing is that you want to make sure that you protect your car. I know it's not like you're not going to be able to race the next day like the real F1 drivers sometimes if they have a big shunt, but you don't want to end up at the back after a good quali, do you? So what are your aims for this race, Andrew?
Hopefully just keep it clean and just hope they get a good position for the main race.
Yeah, well, that sounds solid. I will thank you very much. I'll let you get on and focus on the driving. The next 10 laps go well. So I'm afraid all of you on YouTube, you are stuck with me for the next 10 laps. Let's have a look quickly at the YouTube comments. Hello from Ant, leaving number 73 and number 73. Okay, will do. And hello to Mandy as well. Very happy that you could join us here tonight. So, as we see, the final cars start to line up on the grid, the Alpha Tauri getting into place. Get ready for the first of our races here in China. I've got a lovely sign blocking all 5 lights, but I can hear them as they just go out. Now we're ready, and we're away. It's a good start from the Haas, it seems. Let's have a look as they head out into the first corner. Mark doesn't got quite the start that he wanted, and he's going to be side by side with Womack, and they've touched already. It's happened already. And that's what I was saying. It's so difficult. You've got to make sure that you consolidate your race, but instead he's gone from second to 20th, so had it all to make up now. Just Bailey up into second place though, and G-Star in third. Womack and Mark, the big losers as we come out that first corner. I can't see any others. Let me just get some of my lap data up as well. The full track map. Disable 20. Actually wants to disable. It's a big lead for competitive Craig at the moment, who's stretching out that too. Let's have a look. Yeah, he's got a gap of 1.6 seconds over the rest of the field, and everybody else is in a big old scrap behind. I'm just going to stick with Lorpy and G-Star, who seem to be all over the back of each other as we head into this tight technical section. This is where we look, this is where we're going to see how skinny people have made these cars. I'm going to get on board with Donny, who's lining up a move on Eddie Dust. And let's just see if he decides to use any of his overtake now. Remember, you don't have to conserve the DRS as much as possible. Sorry, the ERS as much as possible. DRS will be available after 1 lap's time. I think we've got Biff, is it, making the move on Scottish Ninja? He's going to have to throw the anchors out. He's got the Alpha Tauri on the outside. The two starts coming together, and it's going to be Scottish Ninja who makes the move up into 9th place. Excellent move there. See where our battles are across the field. I said to look out for people like Ant, like Kid Dynamite, who will be looking to fight through the field. Let's see, Kid is lining up a move on RFC Danny as they head into the first corner. It's such a late apex, you want to leave lots of room on the outside. Kid does it, but he looks like there's an Alpine around in front of him. Gosh, that's Biff, who was up in 10th place. And he's going to have to recover now. That's a Mercedes on the outside of RFC Danny. These two, there's so much battling you can do for the first corner section, because the apex has changed. And even though Kid has made the move on Danny, it's Mark who comes out on the outside. Where did he come from? And even though Kitty's the last of late breakers, that's an excellent recovery from Mark, who finds himself back up into 13th place. Let's head back up the field now. I'm going to focus on Andrew. He's in that Ferrari. He's made a very steady start, and now he's one of the closest battles on track. Only half a second between him and Northey up front. That gap up the front as well, by the way. Betty Craig, Chris and G-Star stretching their lead out to a second, which is what you want around here. You want to be out of DRS zone by the end of the second lap, so you are not a sitting duck when it comes to the following 8. Let's see if Andrew can do anything. He is quite away behind at the moment. He's churning up that DRS. Look at that top speed. He's reaching about 193 miles an hour, so it might be a little draggy. Let's go. Let's see if I can find. We're going to go a bit faster. We've got LRL there, getting to about. Oh! Just as I go to him, he gets a little bit too much on the loud pedal coming out of that hairpin. He spins round. Fortunately, that's going to see him back in 18th place. So a lot of people pushing a little hard in this sprint race, but it is costing them time and laps, and he'll have to make a fight up either in this race or in our major feature race. DRS is now available, so let's see if that's going to change the equation as we're into our third lap. Once again, I'm looking at the closest battle on track, and it is going to be Northey this time. Northey is getting gapped now from that top 3 ahead, and he's going to have absolutely 0 DRS for the rest of this race. So now is Andrew's time to make the move, if he can, when we get to that straight section. Looking down the rest of the field, the other drivers to look at, we've got Night Shadow, 0.2 seconds in there. Seems to be a long train as well, behind Scottish Ninja. I wonder how those in the train are going to react, as now we'll see the DRS zone become available. Is there going to be a little bit of a DRS train? Or is somebody going to be out most of it? On board with Monster here. All about getting lots the best possible traction you can. It's only you get a little bit too eager and overdo it, but he's already on the DRS, and now that DRS flap is open as you head towards that hairpin. He's gaining 200, 150, 100. He just slam on the brakes, and he does. He clips the apex. That's a textbook move there, and that's a wonderful 4th place for the Ferrari man. Let's go back down the field and see if we've got any movers and shakers behind Scottish Ninja, who appears to have kept his position in 9th place. That train isn't going very well for anybody else behind, but remember, there's a lot of time that can gain or lost out of that last corner. And I'm just having a look, everybody's been very well behaved so far. Nobody making any big moves. And now, it'll be up to people like Andrew, like Bit. They want to try and make, if they've made the overtake, they want to get a second ahead, because once again, you know that somebody can get you down that big straight. So we focus on Scottish Nimba and the Lion King himself, Simba, driving a Mercedes tonight. That Mercedes is looking very racy. I think he was just maybe thinking of a move. Look at the gap between Scottish Ninja and the rest of the field. That's a 2-point gap. You can see it on the mini-map down there in the right-hand corner. Is he the cork in the bottle? And once he's gone, can Simba get past and move up the field? Yellow flag at the back. Unfortunately, Biff not having the greatest of races, but it's a great thing about the sprint format. You've got another chance to make it all up. Fingers crossed, he's just getting his bearings now, and he'll be able to give us a great performance in our feature race. Stay on board with Simba, who is all over the back of Scottish Ninja, but he hasn't quite got the exit he would have wanted. And maybe it's Kaiser Soze in the Red Bull who will be eyeing up a move now. The one problem he's got, though, is that both of these cars will have DRS. And actually, it's RFC Danny and Mark who are going at it behind. Who's going to slam on the brakes? RFC Danny goes late. And it's almost up to slight contact with his Kaiser Soze. He has to back out. Does the right thing, but that's going to leave him a sitting duck. Kid Dynamite. And there's one person you don't want to be a sitting duck for. It is Kid, as they go side by side into their last corner. McLaren there on the outside, having to use all the track available to him. Both of them have the DRS, but Kid just had the better line, had the better exit, and it's up into P13 for the Alpha Tauri driver tonight. Mark Kaiser Soze, Simba, Scottish Ninja. This little train is the one that just keeps on giving at the moment. These are just like a swarm of flies over the back of Scottish Ninja, who's making that car as wide as possible. And he'll just want those laps to fade away, and for that 10th lap to become quicker and quicker and quicker. Let's go back up to the top. Lorpy we've got with a 0.5 gap to Monster. He hasn't quite been able to get the gap that he wants, but he's defended the position so far. Other one to watch out for is we've got this fascinating train between Eddie Dust, Bit and Donny. Wonder if Bit can make the move, or it's Donny who's looking a little bit racier at the moment, if he's the one to make the move as we get to the main passing over opportunity, as we get to the main straight. Let's shout out as well. Sorry, we will keep with this battle. It looks like Mark Hodgson's had a slight moment at the back. He's fallen back to 16th place. I'm going to keep on board now with Donny as we tear down this main straight. Of course, DRS as that car in front of him. Bit is there, but he is still closing and he's eyeing up a move. There's no move in the car in front. He thinks about it, thinks better of it though, and he's able to keep it together. Simba also that gap down to 0.25 and behind him as well. That gap 0.35. Got some very quick drivers now making themselves, just making those drivers aware that, hey, I'm tier 1, I might start at the back, but I'm making my way up the field. And slowly, I'm getting into this race. As Simba goes a little bit wide there, Ant sees the gap and he goes for it. Is he going to be able to keep it? He's got the line around the outside, and of course the outside, so the inside becomes the outside, but he's got just that little bit better on the throttle, that traction, and that's a wonderful move on Simba. Is he going to think of another one of the Scottish Ninja? He's thinking about it, but he's not alongside enough to justify the move, and it's Simba who actually says, no, you're offline, mate. I'll take that place back. And yeah, is he going to forfeit? And would have hoped that he would have all the time possible. He wants to have just one car ahead of him when he gets into that DRS zone, but Simba is not giving this up. He's still got the outside line as we go to his left-hander. He's still there. Simba will not leave him alone, and there's a little bit of contact, there's a little nudge, but it's Simba who comes out on top, and Ant is in 11th place. Tiger Soze in the Red Bull is all over behind him. Is he going to have a little look now? This battle is just costing them more and more time, and Scottish Ninja says, thank you very much. I'll just hang on a quiet race behind me. It's RFC Danny who's going up the inside of Tiger Soze. These lot are just falling over each other and nobody seems to want to take the place. Tiger Soze on the other hand looks like he's got the speed down the straight. He's going to make the move back. RFC Danny's got the inside line. He can put it in there. Just there's a little bit of contact maybe between the Red Bull on the outside and a little bit between the Mercedes. But I think they've all kept in exactly the same position as they were before that last section. Gosh, that is a lot of fuss over not many places at all being changed. Let's go back up then, back up to the top. Let's see where we've got our other things. Confetti Craig is just pulling out a nice gap. He's done the old-fashioned Sebastian Vettel drive of, I'll get pole position, lead from the front, and thank you very much, I'll have a nice clean drive. Chris Bailey and G-Star, though, fighting over that sprint race podium. G-Star's made it very competitive, and now within just under half a second. And look at the battle here, though, between Ant and Scottish Ninja, and getting the job done well before that DRS zone. He says, I don't need it, thank you very much. Oh, we've got a spinner up front. Is that? Oh god, that's a Ferrari. Don't know if there was any contact there or anything happened whatsoever. But that's put Andrew is having a very promising race. He's down into 8th. Not over yet, just one above his original qualifying position. And this is only the sprint, and only the real points and the real glory are to come in our feature race. Back then, let's see, I'm going to go back to this fun train of Ant, Scottish Ninja, Simba, RFC Danny and Tiger Soze. And that gap now between him and Scottish Ninja is over a second. Let's see if Scottish Ninja is going to get any DRS. As we look behind, he goes past the DRS zone. No, it's not open, so Simba will have a chance. It's going to be RFC Danny again. This man doesn't give up, it seems, as he's going to try and go around the outside of the Mercedes driver. A little bit of banging there again, but no harm done. And once again, it's Simba, RFC Danny and Tiger Soze who stay in exactly the same place as Let's head back up the field then. An interesting driver, I haven't spoken much about, but he's having a very good race, is Bit in 6th place in the Red Bull tonight. He's just thrown a lasso out and he's held it behind Eddie Dust. And those two are very happy to race together. But it is now, I'm starting to get the feeling that Donny is getting fed up of being stuck behind. Is that desperation going to start to tell? Is he going to start making a few more moves? Or is he just going to say, no, this is the sprint race. I'm going to keep it as sensible as possible. He doesn't want this other car. He doesn't want Bit in front of him because that's the car that's going to be costing him all the time down the main straight. It does force you to make a slightly riskier move somewhere else on the racetrack. You can see there, being that left-hander, he's got a bit better drive. That gap was 0.4, now to 0.2. But he's not going to make a move yet. Let's stick on board, see what kind of exit he can get. Of course, these medium tyres, 10 laps should be no problem, but you don't know the difference in the wear. Oh, look at that drive. It's just got much better traction out of that last corner, and it just undoes all the good work Johnny's done. That combined with the extra bit of assistance from the DRS. Also, it looks like that light is flashing on the back of that Alfa Romeo. That's not going to help him at all, and in fact, Donny's the one to make a mistake, and it's his teammate in the Alfa Romeo, Ant, who makes his way up into 7th place. What a recovery race it's been from Ant. Starting in 19th place on the grid, now up to 7th. So real Hamilton and Brazil vibes we've got here in the sprint race. Can he turn that 7th place into a victory though? Like Hamilton did back in Brazil. Only time will tell. Stay back, we've got this lovely little battle here between Simba Harris, Scottish Ninja and Kaiser Soze, as they once again hair through that first corner. All very clean at the moment, just a little tap from the Red Bull on the AlphaTauri in front. He says, hey, I'm in the parent car, you're in the little baby brother team. Shouldn't you be moving over? But AlphaTauri absolutely refuses to give Kaiser Soze an inch. As they're now side by side, it's all about who gets the better traction out there. And look at that, Kaiser Soze goes past up into 12th place. And that means that now Scottish Ninja might be in the sights with LRL, who's all over the back of it. An excellent race from start to finish. LRL, Kid Dynamite, Mark, they're all people I may have expected to make up a couple more places. Haven't really been the movers and shakers I'd expect them to, but the point is that even if there is a gap of 11 seconds between Kid Dynamite and LRL, that gap's going to mean nothing when it comes to our feature race. And they'll be side by side with each other on the grid, so there will be a chance for them to come back. But they keep with LRL now. He's just all over the back of the AlphaTauri. It's all about traction, not just how skinny your rear wing is. He's up into 13th place. As we approach our final lap, I'm going to stay on board. There's a lot of battles up and down the field, but this is the one I'm really interested in. The battle for 2nd and 3rd. These two, I know I haven't focused on them very much, but they have been going at it. I think G-Star's just been happy to sit in that DRS, take all of that and say, hey, I'm not going to use any of my ERS, I'm going to let you, Chris Bailey, use it, and on the final lap, that's where I'll strike. And look at it now, he is all over the back of that Williams. He can draw the gearbox by memory. Bailey is making that car as wide as possible, parking it on every apex he can. And it's a real fight for G-Star. This is going to go all the way down to the wire. Betty Craig, on the other hand, just out in front, having a cigar. No problems in the world. He's going to be our race winner unless disaster strikes. So that is why I'm going to stay on board with G-Star and Bailey as they're going to approach the all-important final straight. Now look at this. What can Bailey do? A bit of cat and mouse here. Where do you get on the loud pedal? I can have a look, and G-Star is going to be eyeing up now that gap, 0.28. He hasn't used any of his DRS yet, but he is now. That flat wide open at the back. You can see that gap coming down, 0.5, 0.1, 1 second. He's made the move past, but Bailey has the inside line. Can he keep it? He's going to use all of the racetrack, and look, that Williams is still there. And they're going to go side by side into this half counter. The McLaren is going to have the inside line, and that's all he does. G-Star having exact moment, perfect moment at the right time. He's going to come home in 2nd, Bailey in 3rd. You look down the rest of the field, Norpy in 4th, Eddie Dust in 5th. Ant with a great recovery drive there up into 6th place, Pitt in 7th, Donny 8th. Simba, there he goes across line in the Mercedes in 9th, RFC Danny in 10th, Kaiser Soze 11th, Scottish Ninja 12th, LRL in 13th. And there's a bit of a gap to the rest of them. So we've got Kid Dynamite in 14th, 15th place for Maudster, who maybe wanted a little bit more out of that race after a very good start. Mark, of course, started in 2nd, finds himself finishing down in 16th. Single track, one hard runner, didn't quite work out for him as he expected in 17th. Night Shadow 18th, and Wumax will be our last driver on the field, coming through in 19th place. Oh, exciting race, a lot going on there, and an intriguing setup for our sprint. Driver of the day, driver of that sprint race is Ant, and I think on balance I would give it to him. He was the one driver who started at the back who really was impressive with his move up the field. So there we have it. Just to go through those results again. So it's Confetti Craig in first, G-Star in second, Bailey third, Lorpy fourth, Eddie Dust in fifth, Ant sixth, Bit seventh, Donny in eighth, Simba ninth, RFC Danny in 10th, Kaiser Soze 11th, Scottish Ninja 12th, LRL in 13th, Kid Dynamite 14th, Mordstar 15th, Mark 16th, Single Track 17th, Night Shadow 18th, Wumax 19th, and unfortunately Biff in the Alpine did not finish and comes home in 20th place. Well, that looked like quite an eventful race for you, Andrew. What happened out there? Did you have two separate incidents? Because I know you were up in 5th and down to 8th, and then I was surprised to see you down in 15th at the end.
Spun on the middle S.
Mm-hmm.
That's, the curb, it's just on the left, you clip it too much, it's spat the car out and spun me.
Oh, that's a shame.
But I know this is live, and I will say this now, and I'm going to cause myself a little bit of stick. I ran out of fuel.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay, so you purposely underfueled. When did you run out of fuel?
Literally just on the last couple of laps.
Oh, wow. Okay, that early, so you were struggling with laps to go rather than just on the last lap?
No, it wasn't the last lap. It just ran out on me on the straight. So I was literally just on the fuel mode.
That's fine. I can't remember how much China is for things like safety cars. There's quite a lot of big runoff areas, so
it's draining on fuel and draining on tyres, this place.
Yeah. So there we go. Count that as a warning for you everywhere to make sure that you fill your tank up to the brim. Don't be stingy and take your car home. But at least it was only the sprint, and you've got another chance to go. You've got the pace.
Yeah, the setup felt good.
Yeah.
Felt really planted, actually.
Good. Well, fingers crossed.
It was a good battle with Lorpy, actually.
It looked it as well. It looked like you had the run on him for most of that. How were you defend? Because passing over here, I think you can do it quite easily on the straight. How is it defending around here? Is it a very different beast?
If you get the DRS, you're a sitting duck. I mean, Ant got it on me pretty much to the end of the race, and I was a sitting target. But as you mentioned during the commentary, it depends on traction. Really, because if you can just get that gap enough, you can mitigate the DRS a bit.
Yeah, I find particularly that last corner before the straight, you're so eager to get on the gas that you can lose the rear end as well if you're not careful, and it's that sort of that line you've got to cross.
It's one of the key points of the track. Easy.
Okay, I will leave you to it. I'll let you settle in, go well, and I'll just take you through people on comms. I will listen to the comms. Let's have a look at the tyres we've got for this race. Come on, Rob, find it. There we go. So, here we are, and all the tyres that people are starting on. Our race leader starting on hards, but more importantly, the drivers, 4 behind him, all on the mediums. Now, the strategy here is probably hard mediums or medium hard, so that's not a huge mix-up in strategy. But still, those 4 drivers behind will want to get past that hard runner quickly and make the most of that rubber, while they still can. Then we've got Ant and Bit on the hards, a nice little mixture. The one driver standing out there is Wumax, who's on the softs. Now, you can go soft, medium around here. We've said it is quite hard on tyres, but with a safety car around here, I'm not quite sure how the hards feel, but I imagine it's usually the case that the mediums do feel a little bit better than the hards. You will have better traction, so mitigate, one's sort of sprinty stint on the softs and get back onto a pair of mediums. He could be one to watch right from the back of the field, but it's now time for us to get racing as we see the drivers start to line up here. I will be focusing on the lead driver so we can actually see our red lights this time. All the way down the field we go. As we see Biff, that final Alpine, just move into position here as we get ready for the Chinese Grand Prix. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, Hold. And it's away. It's a very quick start. Those lights went out very, very quickly. And it looks like Confetti Craig's got another great start as we head down into the first hairpin. And yeah, I think it's going to be Bailey and G-Star who are going to be side by side. Let's just stick with them. It's Bailey who gets the drop on the McLaren driver. And in fact, he's going to be under a lot of pressure from Eddie Duss and the Haas behind. We've got a yellow flag right at the back. Looks like Kaiser Soze might be the one who's lost out. And I think Bits dropped a couple of places as well. But apart from that, yes, no, Scottish Ninja, unfortunately, is the big loser there. But everybody else seems to have gone through relatively unscathed. I can't see any other spinners on track, so that's excellent news. As we stay on board with Chris, but let's go back down the field. Oh, see Danny. These first laps, of course, it's not like the sprint. You don't feel like you have to get past quite as quickly as anybody else. But it will matter. You do want to make sure that you are still well within a second of that car in front. So you can be ready when the DRS zones become available to you. A bit of a battle in front. Oh, we've got Kid Dynamite as well. He's looking very racy there. Making a move on Bit already. Kid on the mediums, Bit on the hards. And I don't know if Bit's had a bit of a moment there. Yes, he has. He's on the grass. He's doing some Kimi Raikkonen style rallying. So really lost out there. Let's stay involved with Chris Bailey, who has said he'll want to get past Confetti Craig as quick as possible on those medium tyres. And he's done it into that hairpin, and he takes the net lead of the race. Now it's all about getting a second ahead before, as I said, you get that DRS available on lap 2. And we'll hope that there'll be a little bit of pressure from cars behind, like G-Star, like Eddie Duss, who can make Confetti Craig start to think twice. Let's go back down the field there. I'm going to stay with Donny, who's all over the back of Lorpy. As we head into that really long right-hander. This right-hander is all just about hanging on and praying, hoping that you've got the right traction, that you can carry enough speed through there. You can lose so much time. I've lost half a second through there if I just get that corner slightly wrong and I don't have the confidence. So it is a big place where even if you're like a little bit behind on track, if you know you've got the beating of a competitor through that first section, it can make all the difference. There might have been a little bit of an incident with that. We've got Night Shadow, who's in 20th place. Unfortunately, I don't know if there's any damage to that Alpine. We'll have to go back and look at it later. Stick on board with Donny for the moment. Well, look where the gaps form, and it is Lorpy who is struggling to stay on the back of that group of 4 who are up top. Donny will not want to be stuck behind the one car that is out of DRS range, because as I said, it's all more harder to catch up to them. So, no, what did I see out the corner of my eye? That was an Aston Martin. I think he did exactly what I was talking to Morsey about earlier on. You try and get on the loud pedal too quickly out of that corner, and if you don't get it quite right, these cars, of course, will be on much heavier fuel loads than they are in a sprint race, so it's up to the drivers to adapt, but has adapted quite well enough, and that's him off into the barrier and down into 17th place. As all the cars are being very well behaved here, not many looks at passes. Chris up top though, setting a new fastest lap, and like I said, you wanted to pull that gap up to at least a second. He has 1.2 now on the hard runner of Confetti Craig. Excellent race management here from Bailey, but we've still got 26 laps of this race remaining. It's an awful long way to go. Let's go back here as you see Simba and LRL. Therefore it's Simba on the hards, LRL on the mediums. I've talked about that tyre difference before, and LRL might start to get a little bit impatient. He's got a train of hard runners in front of him. He wants to use that tyre as quickly as possible, get past these hard runners and not get caught up in a train. We'll see him lose valuable seconds to that opening group. We know LRL's got the pace to be top 3, but he's going to have to really battle tonight if he's going to make it up into a podium position. Look at him there. He's using every inch of the track. He says, I know I'm faster than you, but I can't get past. I'm going to have to use more of the track than you. And look who's behind him as well. It's Kid Dynamite, who's going for a move, maybe just before this section, the 2 medium runners. But LRL is going to have the inside line. This all works out, I think, in the favour of Simba, though, who says, no, you 2 fast boys can fight. I'm just going to keep on my hards. Very content. Look at them all tuck in, trying to get that slipstream, and look, now we've got the DRS. It's wide open. Who's got the skinniest car as we head down? It's going to be Kid who's going to have a look round the outside. Is he going to make it stick? He just sort of runs out of road. I don't know if that Mercedes in front of him didn't help at all. He has to back out. No, we are it's all the same, but boy, that doesn't mean that it wasn't exciting. Lots of different moves there, and now it's LRL who's going to say, yep, I've got the run out that last corner. I'm going to be the one to get past the hard runner of Simba. And although Simba's going to stick his nose up the inside, remind him that he's there, that inside is very rapidly going to change to the outside as that right-hander turns into a left. And let's see if LRL can get the traction a little bit better. Yes, he does. And now Simba finds himself with Kid Dynamite behind him. That beautiful dark helmet. Look at that. He's going to go for the move already, actually. I thought, is he going to wait a little while? He's not making Simba have one moment's peace here. And the Lion King will be thinking, what did I do to deserve this? Having these two quick drivers around me every stage of the race. The good thing about LRL and Kid is not only are they quick, they are clean. You can trust yourself going side by side into those corners as well. And Kid, oh my goodness me! Just talking about how well he is, and he seems to have spun in sympathy with Donny as well. Who unfortunately was having a good race, but he's also found himself at the side of the road. So that's two of our drivers who are doing really well, find themselves back down the field. Up at the top though, we've got Confetti Craig and Lordy. The two Haas drivers, looks to me like they are working together. That looked very, very easy for Confetti Craig, who is back up into third place. But look at that gap, the medium runners are starting to pull out front. Chris Bailey, 2 seconds from G-Star, who's made another 2.5 seconds on Confetti, and it's only lap 5. So yeah, those mediums appear to be the tyres to be on at the moment. Let's back down the field then and see where we've got a couple of our other battles. That gap, unfortunately, there's no rest for Simbo, because even though he was able to psych out Kid Dynamite with a little spin, he's over a second behind LRL, and that means that Rumax and the rest of them are starting to fall into line. Rumax on those softs, Nordster said that the softs that last here maybe 5 laps, maybe can stretch out to 8, but he'll be starting to feel it, and I think runners like Mark behind him, they'll be the ones who say, yeah, actually, you know what, I'm on the better tyre now, I've got the better race tyre, and I'm the one to watch out for. Of course, Nordster, very good start there, considering where he finished up into 11th place. He'll be in the hunt as well for those last point scoring positions. Back down the field, we've got Biff and we've got Kaiser Soze in the Red Bull. Kaiser Soze, our closest battle on track at the moment, in within 0.3 seconds. Ooh, as there's a little twitch there from Biff as he comes out that corner. They're going to go side by side into that technical section just before the long straight, but it is Biff who lets the Red Bull driver by. Now, it's all a question of where the DRS section is and where the activation zone is. Who's going to get it? We've got a lovely view of the back of Kaiser Soze's car. Is he going to be the one to get it? I can't see it opening. No, it's the Alpine, and instead that sort of worked out very well for Biff, who let the position go at just the right time, and now he finds himself up into 12th place. And Phil, have a look at another battle here. Single track, didn't focus on him much in the sprint, had a quieter race on the hards. He's looking a bit racier on these mediums. I know he was a little bit worried before we went into this race. He said he either had to go in on a track which he hated, France, or a track which he'd hardly raced at all, China. So he's probably learning as he goes along. But we all know Martin, he spends enough hours in the sim rig, he's adaptable. Even if he's wasn't that quick in the first race, it'll be valuable time on track to get used to the conditions, to get used to the car. And now I think we can see it putting into full effect as he just has to hold on to a very quick Eddie Dust as well, who was, I think I remember, right up the top, back in the top 3. Clearly he's had a moment, so if you can stay in line with Eddie Dust, stay as quick as him, then you're in with a shot, knowing that, hey, you've got some serious pace for the rest of this race. Let's go back up the field then. I'm having a look at this little train now. We've got Simba, Wumax and Mark. Wumax is the one who's going to be suffering now. Those softs were a great boon at the start of the race, but now let's have a look at the difference in traction between these two as we get to the all-important traction zone out of this right-hander and onto the main straight. I'm just going to keep an eye on that gap. That's 7.5 seconds. It extends maybe to 0.8, but look at that come back as it does. 0.8 down to 0.7, and that's before either of them have any DRS. I'm going to jump on board with Mark. It is a long way behind, so I don't think he's even thinking of a move. And Rumax is helped by the fact that his Mercedes teammate is ahead, giving him that tow, but you can't do that forever. As that Mercedes of Simba goes out ahead, that gap between him and LRL just extends ever more, ever more. It's up to 2 seconds. So I think Rumax on the soft side, soft says no. I've had enough of being stuck behind my Mercedes teammate, and he goes to move around the outside. Gets it done well before. We've got 3 yellows. That's a safety car. Have we lost anybody? I can't see. We've got all drivers on track. I don't know if there's anybody who's lost it, but this could be important for those drivers who are slightly off the pace or haven't quite got the setup, as we see Knight, Shadow and Donny get off those medium tyres. I'll stick on board with Donny. Let's see what tyres they're going to take. I think it would be a bit of an ask to take the hards all the way to the end, but they may see no choice. Off they go, and yes, on go those banded white tyres. They have to take them 20 laps, which isn't impossible, but as Andrew mentioned before, it is going to tear them up. And talking of Andrew, now we are settling down into a bit of a funk under the safety car. I'm going to bring you in, so how have you found your race so far, Andrew?
Interesting first couple of laps.
You seem to have made up quite a few places there. Was it just people in front of you making mistakes, or you making the moves?
A little bit of both, but I've managed to catch up with the little fight with the Mercedes and the Aston Martin up here, so it's not been going too bad.
Yeah, do you think this safety car, is it coming at a good time for you? I know I see you're on the hards, so probably too early for you to go and pit onto any other tyre.
Yeah,
but
I'm staying put on track. I'm not pitting this lap.
Yeah,
but I know who it had saved, and that's Rumax.
I mean, yes, exactly. Yeah, he was going to be struggling on those softs, as we said early on, and it does mean he gets a free pit stop out of it. So no harm done. As we see a lot of drivers, mostly the medium runners, head into the pits and say, yes, I'm going to put a pair of hards on and try and go to the end. What do you think? Can a pair of hards do 21 laps around?
At a push.
Yeah.
At a very, very slight push. They're going to need another safety car, I do think.
Okay. Well, that was my inclination as well. I thought, yeah, as a track that eats up tyres, we could see some hovering at about 60-70%, which is always the danger zone. But no, it does fires you, all those early pitters as well, brings you up into quite healthy, up from 11th up into 5th place. I think that's hasn't been the worst thing for you.
No, it's been just keeping it clean as you taught me. So
yeah, well, good job. I'm happy to help out.
But it's there's some quick guys up behind me, and I'm around some very quick ones as well.
Yeah, is there anybody who you've felt that you've been like, usually in a race you can say, oh, I'm about the same pace as that guy, or can I keep pace? Do you think that you can keep pace with the train ahead of Mark, Simba, RC Danny, for example, Ant as well?
I'll give him a best shot. It's nice to actually be up with Hodgie again. Being honest.
Yeah, no, Hodgie has had a great season in Tier 2 race, our defending champion, of course. So
yes.
Yeah, if you can keep up with him, you always know that you're doing something right. Driver I'm very interested in as well is Ant. We know he's a Tier 1 driver. He's very quick. One of the drivers who started on hards, and he's going to, be leading this train out. I think he's the one who'll want to gap everyone else behind him and have a little bit of opportunity to shake this race up.
It's going to be the warm-up cycle, I think, for the hard runners. It's going to be the problem after the restart.
Yeah, as well, and you've got the unique challenge of having a medium runner behind you, so you're going to have to be very careful off the start line, aren't you? Because there's a chance that he'll get his mediums heated up a little bit sooner.
Yeah, and not too far behind is Chris as well.
Yeah, of course, Chris, who was our race leader, started on the mediums. He's just made the decision to go to the hards as well. Interestingly, Confetti Craig, who started on the hards, took this opportunity to go onto the mediums, so we know that there's no way that those will get to the end. Yeah, so he's going to
stop again.
Interesting tactic here. I wonder if this is deliberate from LRL. I think he started, I can't remember what tyre he started on, but he's put on a set of softs, I think for just one lap, so he can pop back into the pits again and put on a pair of hards.
Interesting strategy.
It is, yeah. We've had, well, I don't know if it's happened before now, but we've got Scottish Ninja is our DNF. I don't know if that's happened under safety car conditions, but he's no longer in the race. Looks to me, though, we are going to have our drivers going racing this lap, if, of course, LRL and Kid Dynamite can make their way to the back of the train. So I'll leave you be, Andrew. Thank you very much. Go well.
No worries. Keep all the good work, guys.
Yeah, cheers, thank you. And yeah, let's hop on board. Let's go to the front of the pack and see when Burt Mylander decides now is the time to go. Fingers crossed we get more racing in. We want more racing rather than more laps behind the safety car. And again, it's the question of where do you go? I think, yeah, safety car in this lap, so that's excellent news. Trying to get those tyres warmed up as much as possible. He'll have a challenge. There's a lot of quick drivers behind him, but and there, excuse me, taking the pace of our lead car, becoming the safety car, slowing it right down. It's not quite the pace of a Gav. We're not going at 20 miles an hour. We've got a very long straight ahead of us, so please don't make it that long. But now you see those hard runners, they want to make every metre of this track count. So you see them snaking side to side, desperately trying to get any little bit of Celsius, Fahrenheit, Kelvin, whatever you measure your tyre temperature in. They want it. And they want it all within that rubber so they can get off the start line as quick as possible. Got one man at home tonight, of course. Tomorrow, King Charles, waiting to have a big bit of metal put on his head. But which one of these gentlemen will be crowned tonight as the winner of our Chinese race? So you have Ant crawling on back, making me monologue as much as possible. Is he going to go? No, he's going to wait. I think, yeah, you don't want to go quite soon. The safety car is already back in the hutch, so he can go whenever. And he says, yeah, sure, I'll have the whole last lap and a little bit more to go as well, as we are off racing once again. I think that's been quite a smart move. It means he's got the best run to get out. We have to see a Ferrari there in the background. Single track immediately going to the pits. I think he's got a drive through to serve, which is so unfortunate. And we've got, that's an Alfa Romeo. I don't know if he's an incident, but yeah, he's recovering as well. So that's Johnny at the back of the field, not what you want to have at the safety car restart. But come on, Co-Masters, give me a camera angle. There we go. And getting a gap, but he hasn't really gapped RFC Danny behind, who is still looking competitive. The one person who seems to have caused a little bit of chaos behind him is Bit, who's now 1.5 seconds between him and Mark. Mark and Simba having a great start. Bit Monster not quite getting the same pull away as the rest. Maybe they were caught sort of on the hairpin or unable to put the pedal down when they wanted to. Now it's all up to these drivers to try and make the move, and they'll want to make sure that gap of 2 seconds now doesn't get any bigger before the DRS zone is active. Other drivers to look at. Confetti Craig, who's on the hards. Of course, he was trying to attack. Blah, 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 blah. Let me start again. It was Chris Bailey who was on the mediums at the start of the race, and Confetti Craig on the hard. The situations have been reversed now, and it's Confetti Craig on the mediums who's trying to use all that tyre. There we go. You see that view from the rear wing of the Williams. Is it time to use your ERS? Do you want to spend it now, or are you going to wait until the DRS zone is available? Bailey says, actually, you know what? I'm going to get the car between me and Confetti Craig as he blasts past the Ferrari and Roadster, and he makes it stick, and now he's only going to have Bit up in front. See when we get that trigger up top. No DRS this lap yet. It will be available on the next. So again, we're relying entirely on your ERS. But look at those two cars go side by side. Bailey, and then it's Confetti Craig and Warsaw Confetti Craig forcing his way past. So we go into that left-hander, and look, he's got the inside line. Or it is the inside, but it very rapidly, as I keep saying, becomes the outside line as it turns into a left-hander. Bailey is all over the back of Bit. He doesn't want that Red Bull in his way. He wants as much space as possible, because now it's Confetti Craig who's made the move. And is he going to go 2 for 1 as he dips down into the corner? It makes Bit go very wide, and yes, that's an excellent couple of corners from Confetti Craig, up from 7th into 5th. And it's Bailey who thought he'd made the move, thought he put a little bit of distance between him and that Haas, and now he's going to have to battle this Red Bull as you see he's taking the inside line on the left-hander, leaves enough space, just a bit of forced off there, and now there's going to be the Ferrari behind him. He's going to go wheel to wheel with a little bit of wall banging, a bit of ghosting as well. Where is that car on track? Oh, but it goes very deep. I think he's just outbraked himself, and yes, that means Morst is through. And it's Kaiser Soze, his local teammate, who's always so fit, going backwards through the field here, just under so much pressure from the other cars around him. Those 10-lap hards, of course, the oldest set of tyres on the grid of anybody. So yeah, he'll be looking to get off them as quick as possible now, because it doesn't seem to be doing him any favours. G-Star now past him as well, as you've got the Mercedes of Woo Max behind. Is he going to have a look? No, it's just going to be enough for the McLaren to make the move on the Red Bull driver. So lots of action here, and now, more importantly, our DRS is now enabled. Having a look up the field, look at that gap up the front. All those drivers from about 1 to 4 having a little gap of 1 second, and I think it's impressive. Simba's got that gap of at least a second to Mark as well, who's going to be under a lot of pressure now from Confetti Craig. We know this guy's quick. We know he's also probably got to do another pit stop, but he's determined to spend as much of that medium tyre as possible now. Is he going to have a little look? He makes the line, makes you think about it, but no, there's nowhere alongside enough there, and has to consolidate place. Remember, DRS is available this lap. Mark is all. Mark's currently just dipped back into the DRS of Simba, so Confetti can't really afford to wait unless he's absolutely certain that he's got the run and got the skinnier wing setup. And that wasn't very wide off track there. I think Confetti was taking a slightly odd line, and it's very hard to go side by side through that set of corners. Let's see what happens as we come up to the main straight. Confetti, clearly, he's had the pace all night. He's got a first place. Ooh! Very twitchy there. I think he was desperate to get the run, but it's cost him, and instead, that might feed him into the path of Bailey. Let's see if any of these get the DRS. Confetti Craig gets it. Bailey does not. He was not within a second at the DRS detection range. It's going to be Mark instead, who maybe has a little look at Simba. He'll probably be thanking Simba on the radio, saying, "Thanks, mate. Gave me a tow when I most needed it." But Confetti Craig as well, he's back into 0.6. This path up the front is not going to go away. We're going to go back down the field. I think Rumax had passed Bit, but all of that's changed at the back as Bit makes the next move. Rumax, look at the difference there between the highs. Such a different traction he's got, and assisted by the DRS, he's back up into 10th place. That's the one problem about that long straight. You get the move done, but they can get you right back on the start-finish straight. He's going to feed into this little train that we've now got forming behind Kaiser Soze, which Kaiser Soze, G-Star, Mordster, and then Rumax joining the back of that. Looking up front, we've got Northie and Biff going side by side. Northie, as we know, has been quick, and yes, he gets that move done as well. Eddie Dust as well. We know he's been up the top. That camera angle just through the wing mirror there, just a little peek. Biff has had a steady race, a better race than his first one. He's still in it after all, but it does look like he's struggling slightly compared to the likes of Eddie Dust, who is eyeing up yet another pass and desperate to get back at the field. These hard runners, of course, all of them on 5 laps, they'll be hoping to go to the end, so maybe they've got to think a little bit about tyre preservation as well. Can't lean on it all the time. Go back up to the top. Look there, Confetti Craig. He's made the move on Mark, and he's made the move on Simba. His pace telling, and those medium tyres. It's an exit considering that he was in 5th place last lap. Now he's all the way up into 3rd, and it'll be a battle for the Mercedes and the Aston Martin to try and keep on his coattails. As now Bailey sees his main rival disappear up the road, he now will want to be held up by this Mercedes Aston Martin Gio. It's up to him, and he'll be praying that they pit very, very soon. Back down the field, we've got a few racy drivers as we see LRL go for his teammate Biff. He's making his way up the field slowly. Solid race so far, but we always know he's got a little bit of pace in his pocket. And crucially, those hards are 1 lap fresher down the rest of the field. Is that going to make all the difference as we get to the end, and if we don't have another safety car in this race? Interestingly, we've had Kaiser Soze. I think he was one of our people who stayed on a set of tyres. He's gone on to the hards. He's had to take a pit stop. He's definitely able to get those hards to the end, so that might be his trip's over for now. See again, Chris Bailey on a charge. He's past Mark. Now it's the Lion King in his sights. And look at those tyres. He'll have the much fresher hards, he'll have the run, and more crucially, he will have the PRS as we head into that section. Look, that gap is closing, but now that flap is wide open. He makes it look so easy, doesn't he? That moves up well before the braking zone. Be able to pick whatever line he chooses, hook it into the apex, maybe gets the anchors out a little bit more. Just that bit of overspeed he'll have from the DRS, but he's kept it very clean, and that's him up into 4th place, and his rival is up the road. That gap now 2.4 seconds. Let's go back down the rest of the field. Let's see where the rest of our battles are happening. LRL, Morphy and Bit. The LRL might fancy his chances as we go into the start-finish straight. All of these are DRS zones, so it is hard to get it done on pure pace alone, but can any of them do it as they go through that long right-hander into the left? And it keeps it nice and steady, everybody being very well behaved. Still a long way of the race to go, we're over halfway, but we've got 14 laps left. Now, if you're a hard runner, if you're on those 7-lap-old hards, I'd just be checking my tyre pressures, checking the heat, checking how much wear is it a lap, can I make it to the end, or am I going to be like Bambi on ice? Are you going to be praying for that safety car, or hope that it doesn't come at all? Look at this battle behind, we've got Gift Ready Dust there, oh, you throw a blanket over them, all desperate to get past, and it's Bit who's desperately hanging on for that last point scoring place as we head down into the next section. The other driver who's causing a bit of a roadblock is Simba, who's only got 0.4 between him and Mark. Let's stay on board with Mark. Simba wasn't able to keep pace with Bailey up ahead, so he isn't going to have any DRS. But it does look like he's got enough to make sure that Mark doesn't pass him this time. Up at the front, it's Confetti Craig, who was eyeing up RFC Danny. He's made the move stick. And look at that, he is up into 2nd place. Gap between him and the leader now only 2 seconds, and more importantly, 15-lap-old hards. There will be no doubt that he will have the tyre advantage and the pace advantage as we head into the final part of this Grand Prix. Let's just look down the field. Other racy drivers. Bailey was, of course, started on mediums, wants to last on hards. The next of the drivers who did that was G-Star, who finds himself in 7th, and he finds himself on the back of this train, as I've said, between Simba and Mark. Now, Simba and Mark get on very well in real life, share a party. I wonder if they'll be in a party tonight. I wonder if they'll be helping each other out. Or, hey, we're in different teams. It's every man for himself on this Friday night. They'll maybe have to work together if they want to keep the Dutchman behind them, because he's looking very racy. Those 15-lap-old hards probably coming towards the end of the life, and I'm really interested to see when we get the first of our hard runners start to get off that tyre and onto a medium, I presume, until the end of the race. Let's see. I'm going to keep on board with Mark. Again, that gap is 0.4. It's steady, but it doesn't really close. Let's see, is he willing to use any of his ERS? You can see that slight green flash on the dashboard, but no, the gap between him and Simba isn't really coming down, and the gap between G-Star behind is staying pretty steady as well, all at half a second, so there will be... Oh, but Simba didn't need it, he just got very wide, and maybe there was a little bit of contact between him and the McLaren driver just as he tried to get back onto the racing line. Or maybe he's had a little moment as well. I don't know if he's had a bit of internet issues. It just says that Simba has left the session. Fingers crossed he's able to get back in, because it would be such a shame if he can't. He's a spooky, scary ghost. But that'd be such a shame if he can't, because he did have a great race up to that point. It was just the first mistake, the first switch, and unfortunately that's put him down into 7th. And that means that Wardster in the Ferrari will be looking at this opportunity, saying, you know what, I can pass a ghost, I can go straight through him. That's absolutely no problem whatsoever. Fingers crossed he can get back into the race. Back down the field, we've got Chris and Mark going side by side with G-Star, who gets through. I don't know if it's Bailey who's had a slight moment, but suddenly he's fallen down from wanting to chase Confetti Craig, but now ending up in 6th place, and of course, now, more importantly, he's behind G-Star, the driver who's on exactly the same strategy as him, the driver who passed him on the last lap of the sprint race. We know how close these two are on track. And that'll be the last thing he would have wanted. Just one small mistake and he's back down into 6th place. Look at this between Simba, LRL, Wumax and Lordby. They're all through on that last corner. I thought it was Wumax who's going to pass Simba, but in fact it's LRL who seems to have got the move done early and have the benefit of the DRS of that car in front. Wumax is going to be able to keep Lordby behind him. Maybe they don't have to worry so much about the ghost as we see Lordby go straight through Simba, who unfortunately has had those technical issues. And we've seen it up the front. We've had our first hard driver into the pits, and it is our Aston Martin of Mark. So let's just double check, let's see what tyres he goes on to. I expect it'll be the medium. The mediums probably can do 10 laps easily around here. Yes, it will be. It'll be that yellow striped tyre. Not mad enough to go for a red quite yet. And let's just look at the gap then between him and somebody like Ant. Let's put that leader gap there. The gap now between him and the leader is going to be 32 seconds. Quite a long pit stop around here. Quite a long pit entry as well. Let's see who's the next to pit and if the undercut or the overcut can work around here in Shanghai. Mark's got a nice clear bit of track out ahead of him. That's the most important thing. Nobody to as they're going up the front as well. We're talking about drivers who made mistakes. I might have missed it, but Confetti Brave, who was pushing to the win, for the victory, now back down in 5th as Maudster goes past. And is it Bailey as well who's had a bit of an issue? I don't know what's happened, but he finds himself down in 10th. So our front 2 runners, the people who were in the podium positions of the sprint race, suddenly find themselves in a little bit of trouble. And the race has fallen into the lap of G-Star, who now is the front runner of our drivers who are yet to make a pit stop. Really? Ant and RC Danny need to. G-Star's got on those hards early. Now, maybe his mind can think to a little bit of preservation. I've got track position, and I've got a good amount of seconds between me and my teammates. Let these tyres go to the end. As we see Maudster in the Ferrari going, I'll keep a little eye on that as well. Let's see where he comes out compared to someone like Hodgie, who he was fighting for track position for. And then back stay on board with Mark. Let's see. As we hair around that Ferrari, still in the pit lane. Starting to make its exit now. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a foot race, but it's going to be, you see that Aston Martin just comes out in front of the Ferrari. Not much difference there. And as Mark makes his way through a ghosted bit, I think there's not too much damage done between the off strategies, and again those other 18-lap-old hard runners, they're the ones staying out. I don't know if they're going to try and go for a quick splash and dash and go for the mediums at the end, or if they're brave enough to say, so I prepare softs at the end, or if they're going to pit soon and go, no, the mediums are the safer option. That's the one I'm going to pick. Let's go back then, back down the field, Confetti Craig on those 11-lap-old mediums, and they'll be starting to feel, I think, every bit 11 laps old. We're starting to get to the limit now, and as you can see, drivers like Wumax ahead on those hards. Confetti isn't making the type of gains that he was earlier. That gap, yes, now all the way up to a second. See, our race leader now, he goes into the pits, followed directly by RFC Danny. So as I said, that brings G-Star up into the net race of the lead. It's worked out really well for him. LRL as well, who I said did a bit of an odd strategy, went on the softs, then got on the hards. That's worked out well for him as well. He's up into 2nd place. Wumax there, Eddie Dust in 12th. And let's see where he comes out in comparison to our drivers like Mark and Maudster. There's still a healthy gap in between those two. In fact, leaving it a little bit later seems to have worked out very well. He has a sizable gap between those now. Ant is the one on the fresh mediums. He's the one who can start doing the opposite to what all those other drivers on the fresh tyres were doing after the safety car. Now he can push. Now he's the one with the racy tyres. And with only 10 laps to go, I think he can lean on those mediums an awful lot. We've also seen as well, Confetti Craig, who said that he needs to make another pit stop. He's made it, and he's decided to put a pair of softs onto the end. Very interesting. Willing to see if he can eke out those tyres. I wonder if he's just got in his head a little bit too much about strategy. Remember, this was the driver who was P1. He was leading this race, you know, he led the sprint race so comfortably. We know he's got the pace, but now it just seems to have, gone for a soft strategy right at the end. He's going to need a lot of luck and a lot of skill to get back up into the point positions now. He's going to stick with Ant, who is 0.3 seconds behind his Alfa Romeo teammate. Are there any team orders at Alfa Romeo though? No, it looks like Donny's taken a very defensive line. One move, two, that's your moves, you can't make any more. Head down into the hairpin, and no, he's not going to make it that time, but look at the light flashing on the back of Donny. He's got 0 ERS left. And had to slow down a bit, and that's fed him back into the path of RFC Danny, who was in second place. He's gone for the racier soft tyre, clearly wanting to get track position early, but I don't know. I don't know if those softs are going to make it 10 laps. That's the big risk all of these soft runners are taking. And it's a risk that unfortunately hasn't worked out for Confetti Craig, who's going to DNF. Let's see, I can't see any car on the side. I think he's just, he just decided his race is over and he's pulled up just in front of the pit lane, so that's a real shame for our sprint race winner to see him leave the race and leave the session. But it'll be music to the ears of people like G-Star Sipes, like Chris Bailey, who knew how quick he was, and it's now their race to win. Let's go back on up then. Donny's still not playing the team game here on those 14-lap-old hards, and on those mediums he'll be desperate to get past now, because track position is everything, and that gap between Donny and Eddie just keeps going up and up and up. Look at the gap between G-Star. I mean, it's 8 seconds. Having a free pit stop round here has meant so much, and it's really played into the favour of those hard runners who took the risk, said, yes, I can take these hards 20 laps, and I'm going to take them all the way to the end. Donny makes his one move, that's his one defensive move now. He can only move back across if he wants to get back into the position. He tries to defend the inside, but Ant goes, no thank you, I'm going to take the inside anyway, and it's RFC Danny who also decides to make the move. So Donny there has lost 2 places, not doing his teammate any favours there. Not only did he block him, but also he let the McLaren through very easily. And again, it's Ant and RFC Danny on the same strategy. You cannot separate these two, and Ant will now be eyeing up that 3-second gap to Eddie Dust up top. It is our one big battle down the field here, really, as we see Night Shadow pop into the pits. He's on 14-lap-old hards. Now, I know Gav will probably put on a pair of softs to the end, maybe try and pick up a fastest lap, something on the end, but I think you are in soft territory. And you can be confident it goes on the end, and yes it is. Oh, red stripe wall tyres. On and off he goes. And that means that the field is starting to spread out, starting to calm down a little bit. The real battles here are the ones between Donny, RFC Danny and Ant. Donny's on very old tyres, so I do think he will struggle to keep with those drivers in front. What I might do, in fact, is let's get G-Star. Let's see. I want to see what lap times our race leader is doing and compare it to the medium runner of Ant. Because we've got what? After this lap, we'll have 6 left. That interval to the leader now, hovering at around about 15 seconds, so it's going to be at least 3 seconds a lap difference. I don't think he's going to have that. Let's see. I hope if I had the lap data enabled, wouldn't it, Rob? So unfortunately we're going to have to go wait another lap to see what the difference is. Oh, and he does pick up a 3-second time penalty. That means Ant has at the moment P4 on the road as he goes across in a 1:36.4. See what somebody like Chris Bailey on the hards, I think he's a good measure for how much those 15-lap-old hards are going to be suffering at the moment, as we see a Haas go through. He's ghosting or something going on slightly there. But Bailey across the line in a 1:37, so there is about a second, 1.5 second gap between those hard runners and the fresh medium runners. And remember, those hards are probably only going to feel worse and worse as the race goes on. Down the field, I don't know if Bailey's got an issue or he just seems to have slowed right down here. If he's looking at his steering wheel or something, but he's ghosting, and yeah, he's falling back down. He had a moment with Lorpy, and now that's Kaiser Soze through, so somebody who was net leader of the race down to P12, hoping that he can at least get a point from tonight, because he deserves it, at how well he's raced. to go back up to the top though. We've got Eddie Dust, that 3-second penalty. He'll probably be swearing in his helmet about it at the moment, but been okay so far. We'll just want to make sure that he's maybe got a bit of DRS because he knows that he's got that racy Alfa Romeo of Ant behind him, and he'll need to make the most of any benefit that he can. We've got full yellows though. Is that a safety car? Yes, it is. I don't know what's happened on track, but oh boy, now that makes this race very, very interesting indeed. So if you're one of the drivers who's on those old hards, you have to pit now, don't you? You have to, because you know you're going to be a sitting duck if the rest of the field goes on softs and decides to win it. Strangely enough, it's telling me that Chris Bailey is in the lead of this race. I think that to be as a lie of sorts, and I really hope that Codemasters or the game can just sort itself out and put Chris back in his rightful position, because he was 12th not very long ago, but no, the game is going to insist that he's still leading the race. So fingers crossed we don't have a glitch lobby with only 4 laps remaining. I'm just having a look at the YouTube chat quickly. We've got Simba's games crash, unfortunately. Carl as well can't get back into the lobby, so's out. It's always a shame when you have technical issues like that. And fingers crossed, I'm really hoping we don't have more technical issues in this lobby tonight, because there we go, Bailey's back down into 16th. So I'm going to quickly go on board, because we've got a safety car, with our driver Andrew Maudsley.
Hello again.
Wait a second, it helps if I don't mute myself when I'm talking to you. That's probably why you didn't hear my question. So, the safety car, how did it work out for you tonight? Has that worked out in your favour? Are you happy about it, or frustrated that it's happened?
Not really frustrated, it has to be done. With hitting onto the softs, I think. It's going to be an interesting final few laps.
Yeah, I'm having a look now up and down the field. I don't know if you have the same view as me, but we've got G-Star who stayed out on the hards and on the medium, so I think probably the right strategy for him to keep track position because he's got the pace. But everybody else behind them, from LRL all the way back, are on the soft tyre, apart from Chris Bailey, Simba and Bit. And it's my suspicion that those three might have a few technical issues, because I know those drivers, they would get onto the soft. So it looks like they're going to have a little bit of a shootout.
It's a slam dunk, you go on the softs from now.
Yeah,
Really?
because we're going to have what, maybe, it depends when the thing.
Shootout?
Yeah, 2-lap shootout, 3-lap maybe. It depends who's in last place at the moment. It's Night Shadow on the softs, who is well at the back. So that might be enough for us to have another lap under this safety car, and then we will go live. So yeah,
This
enjoy.
should be an interesting last couple of laps, I think.
It will. How did your strategy work? So obviously, when you pitted, you didn't make your pit. You couldn't really. You couldn't do your pit earlier on in the race.
No, I couldn't.
Did that? It seemed to put you down the field a little bit, and that gap between you and Mark opened up. Was that just because you fell out of DRS, or was there anything else?
A little bit falling out of DRS, but I was coming back towards him just before the safety car.
Yeah.
I've luckily just leapt him in the safety, jumped him in the pit lane.
Oh, excellent. Oh, yes.
I think it's 'cause the position of the Ferrari box compared to Aston Martin.
Yeah, and they probably double stacked as well, where your Ferraris. I think there was a big gap between you and single track in the pits. So yeah,
Well,
no,
I don't think if we go racing now, I don't think we'll get DRS at the end.
Ooh, very good point. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, if they don't go racing this lap, we're on lap 25, so 26, 27, 20. So if they go racing this lap, we might have DRS last lap, because it's two laps,
one lap,
isn't it?
yeah.
For one lap. But if we don't go racing this lap, which is possible, because I'm on board with Night Shadow, who still hasn't caught up to the back of that train, and the game does like to make sure they catch up, I think we're going to have a spend all your ERS 2-lap shootout at the end of what has been a very interesting Chinese Grand Prix. What do you do in these situations? Me personally, how do you usually cope in these situations? I hate them. I hate 2-lap shootouts because you've tried your hardest, you've tried to be conservative throughout the whole race, and then things happen that don't usually happen.
Won or lost.
Yeah.
You definitely won or lost now.
People make moves that they don't usually. I mean, we've seen it in real life F1, haven't we? Remember that red flag at Australia? There were people going for dives up the corner, and it's just chaos. So I really hope, fingers crossed, that we don't have similar chaos here tonight.
I hope so too.
Yep.
There's some very fast guys around me at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's just all about, first and foremost, keeping your nose clean into those first 2 corners and then seeing what you can do afterwards. The worst thing is to get a tap or a bump up the inside and find yourself facing the wrong way after a safety car, because then it really does feel hopeless, doesn't it?
If everybody starts fighting now, the leaders start fighting, it's going to be, if everyone behind them soft start fighting. Did you say Anton, someone else was up at P1 and 2, they stayed out?
P1 and 2 have stayed out, yes, so it's just them on the hards and the mediums.
They're going to need to hope to heck that we start fighting back here.
Yeah, I think G-Star in particular, I don't know about you, but 18-lap-old hards probably don't compare much to 2-lap-old safety car softs, do they?
Yeah, he's going to need to make that McLaren very wide.
Yeah. Well, as we find, I'm pretty sure we're going to go racing, so I will leave you to it. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you again.
That's right, no problem. And yeah, we are ready to go racing as I predicted. We've got a nice big safety car in this lap, so we will have a 2-lap shootout. G-Star, boy. What do you do in his position? He's got the oldest set of tyres on the grid, the hardest set of tyres on the grid, and he's the one to lead us out. Is he going to get swallowed up by a train of very racy soft runners behind him, or by some miracle can he do what, he's Dutch, but I'm sure he'd love to do what Lewis Hamilton was unable to do in Abu Dhabi, because every F1 stream must have a reference to that race. Can he take the very old pair of hards and hold up the far quicker drivers behind them, because that's the task that lays ahead of him. 2 laps here to win or lose it. Big question now though is, where does he go? That safety car making its way into the pits, you can just see that yellow dot, and he's going to go round this final apex. Very slow out of there. It's not going quite yet, and there he goes. Off he's gone. I'm going to keep on Ant behind him. Look at that difference! Look at the tyre difference! It happened! And I think Ant was able to make that move. He held it just until the start-finish line, so there's going to be no penalty. He's into the lead of the race already. He's going to have to hold it round the outside, He's using every inch of the track there. He's got the McLaren at the inside. But now, there we go. He's been able to keep that, and he will want that, the second one, that McLaren, to be so wide now. He doesn't want LRL behind him. He doesn't want that very racy driver to go up there. And LRL thinks about it, doesn't make the move. And it's all about those other soft runners now, but LRL has already made the move down into 11. Those hards, I feel so sorry for G-Star, because he is going backwards already. Almost every apex he is going to have to defend like an absolute lion. I'm going to stick on board with Rumax, who I think will be eyeing up much the same. Let's see if we can see the traction difference as we're going to head on to this long straight for this penultimate time. He's just going to eye up his move. He knows that there's no DRS available, that he's going to have a battery full of ERS to spend. He must have the better traction. He's got the lighter fuel load now. That gap's staying at 3.1 for now. Boy, how skinny is that McLaren? Rumax probably thought it was going to be an easy pass, but no. He's just not making a dent, so he's going to have to do it in one of the corners. Up ahead. Look at that. Now, LRL, he was nowhere in this race. He was about mid-table, and then he came up and he battled his way, and I thought, it's been an excellent race. Look at Ant there, going so wide, using every bit of track and maybe a little bit more. But he's going to have to defend like nobody's business if he's going to keep this race win from LRL. He's going to be all over the back. And G-Star, by the way, excellent defending. Still in third place, keeping Wumax behind him. Let's see what goes on then. Got big battles here. I think everybody going to the softs, it has sort of neutralised the field a little bit. It's only these battles we're seeing between the different compounder tyre runners. As now, LRL, that gap was about 0.7, coming down to 0.4. Is he going to try and make the move before the long straight, or is he going to wait? Is he going to pray? He's not going to have any DRS, but he will have a slipstream. I wonder how full his battery is, and I wonder how much battery Ant has had to spend to stay in this position. It really is now or never as we come down to the final few corners. That gap already was about 3.5 coming down. Who can get on the power sooner? Ant's got an excellent exit out of there. It was at 0.35, but it's at half a second. And I think having no DRS has really worked in his favour. And the light is flashing on the back of LRL's car. That means he's out where Ant still has a little bit to spare. He's still got 2 more corners to negotiate, though. And LRL is not going to give up as there is a twitch. There's an Aston Martin in the barrier. I don't know if there was contact. But that's LRL through, and Ant falls back down through the field. So we're going to have the race winner of the Alpine. It's LRL in first. G-Star with 21 lap old hard comes in second. Wumax in third. Mark in fourth. Chris Bailey in fifth. Ant in sixth. Maudster seventh. Donny in eighth. Morphy 9th, Kaiser Soze 10th, Big in 11th, RFC Danny in 12th, Eddie Dust 13th, Night Shadow 14th, Kid 15th, and Single Track in 16th, with Professor Greg, Scottish Ninja Simba, and Bit not finishing. Yeah, so we've got a lot of drivers there. Andrew, if I can just come to you a second, it looks like a surprise that we've got Chris Bailey finishing as far up the field as he did. Is that a surprise to you, or was he there within the mix?
There was a bit of contact. There was a bit of contact definitely on that last lap.
Ah, okay.
I saw just off that hairpin. There was about 3 or 4 cars literally all straight along side by side.
Right.
Just that little straight just before the last turn.
Yeah.
But fantastic battle I had with Hodgie just in that last little stint.
Yeah, no, it does look...
turn 1.
Yeah, it's good, and I think we might be in a slightly glitched game state, which is a perfect way to end tonight. It's been a little bit dicey here and there, so we might just have to wait for this timer to roll out till the end. Yeah, so it's the one car that's really confusing me on this final timing screen is the 5th place of Bailey, who was, to be fair, he's been jumping around my timing screen all night. Was he ahead of you on track, do you know, or was that something where...
He was ahead of me on track from what I saw.
Fair enough, that might be just my end, where it's had a little bit of a desync or something's gone on, so yeah, no, excellent race though from Bailey's been at home in 5th on 21 lap old hards. Those softs clearly working to an extent, but not quite to the extent that I thought. Like, I was really impressed by how much G-Star was able, drivers like G-Star and Bailey were able to defend.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, as you said, a lot of people going on for the soft has probably neutralised the advantage a lot of us had, including myself, so...
Yeah. So, driver of the day, Game gives it to Wumax, who, yes, did have an excellent race. Our race runner as well also had an excellent race, but I do want to give a shout out as well to Ant, who was leading right up till the very last moment and was so unfortunate just to have a little bit of something happen to him at the end. I don't know if we'll hear anything about that later, but yeah, I know you were in amongst the action. Is there anybody you'd like to award your drive for the day to, Maudster, for what happened on track?
I would... Again, I probably this is probably left field again a little bit biased, but I probably would have to say Hodgie actually.
Okay.
Drove well, kept himself clean, got him up in some good places, and we had a good little fight ourselves. So just hope next race we can actually continue this little slugfest again.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Well, look, thank you for racing tonight, and thank you to everybody who turned out tonight. So let's have a look at our final standings, which of course put together the results of the sprint and the main race. So we have in first, or joint first really, we've got G-Star and LRL, both on 25 points. Chris Bailey, 3rd and 16th. Woomax with 15 points. Mark on 12. Anthony on 11th. Betty Craig in 7th with 8th. Lorpy with 7 points in 8th. Maudster in 9th place with 6th. Donny with 5 points in 10th. Eddie in 11th with 4. Bit in 12th with 2. Kaiser Soze with 1. And then we get onto our non-point scorers, which are unfortunately Biff, RFC Danny, Night Shadow, Kid Dynamite, Single Track, Scottish Ninja, and Simba. Whoa, it's been a busy one tonight, but thank you ever so much for everybody who made the time out there Friday to turn up for this funky Friday race. And we hope to see you very soon when we go racing for something a little bit special on Monday. Take care.
Night all.